Hi, this is Avira from Scrappy Mania, and today I have a project. Now, this is an experiment, and what I want to do is I want to cut out stencil. My sister bought me this cartridge, edge to edge, and the reason why she bought me the cartridge is because it has a lot of these cuts, intricate cuts that are perfect for mixed media. She knows I love mixed media. I love stencils. I love my sprays and my dimensional paste. So she got me this cartridge, and I love this one. I especially like that one and this one, and I think that would be great little masks for my projects. The only thing is that my Cricut sometimes has a hard time cutting these thick stencils. I even bought some of this acetate, and it's kind of thick. And I did cut a couple stencils using this with my Cricut, and I had to use a deep lay, and I had a multi-cut, and even after I multi-cut like 6 times, I had to go over some areas with my craft knife. So I want to experiment with using cardstock. How about if we use, so I was thinking that maybe I can use some Mod Podge gloss, put it on my cardstock, let it dry overnight, put it a double coat on each side. So I make like a little plastic out of this, and then run it through the Cricut and see if it cuts. So that is what we are going to try today. I haven't done it yet. Now I did start doing some. So this is one. And notice that it's all teared apart because I did not leave it to dry overnight. This thing, this Mod Podge gloss, it takes 2 or 3 days, I think, to dry, because I put it on and then I laid one on top of the other the next day, and then I couldn't peel them apart. They just broke on me. So let me go and grab. See, I was trying to peel them apart. Look at this one. That's because I laid it on top of each other, and it was kind of dry, but not as dry as it should be. So if you're going to do this technique, let's go ahead and experiment. I'm going to let it dry for at least a couple of days before I turn it over and do the next coat. But I'm going to still use these for stencil. I think they still will work. But let's go ahead and do it right. So I have my cardstock. Let me close this before I put ink on it or glue. And then I'm going to protect my surface. I don't know why, because it's all messed up anyhow, but I'm still going to protect my surface a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to take my Mod Podge, shake it up, and then put a nice coat on top like that. Then I'm going to spread it. And you really want to coat it, because if you're going to use it for your mixed media, you know this is going to get wet. So I'm hoping that the gloss Mod Podge will not let the water soak into the paper. So you want to make sure you give it a nice coat. Okay? And then I'm going to set these aside to dry. And one thing you got to make sure is you peel it up. Don't leave it on this, because it will stick to this paper. I learned that the hard way. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring this over here. And let me peel this one up. So, and I'm telling you my mistakes so that way you don't do the same mistakes. So we're going to peel this up. Okay. So I'm going to put it aside someplace that's not touching anything, so it will adhere to no other piece of paper or anything like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and use these that I created, even though they're not the greatest. but I'm going to go ahead and use those. And let's go ahead and experiment. I have 2 here. Let's go ahead and experiment with my Cricut. I'm going to hear it down. And it's going to move, so let me go ahead and... What I like to do for this stuff, I like to use repositional adhesive. I'm going to put a little bit of repositional adhesive. Okay. And then lay it down. And just to make sure that it does not move, I'm going to go ahead and put some masking tape on the edges. I know I have new ones, it's just, these still cut. I don't know, I just don't depart from I should pull my new ones out. I'm saving those for, I don't know what I'm saving them, but I'm actually trying to get these to use these up before I pull my new ones. And since this is for mixed media, I don't care about the tape. So, there. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my cartridge out. And I do have a Gypsy, but I do not want to upgrade my die cut because I have a software that does cut anything I want out of my old Cricut. And if I do, and I have 2, that's why I have 2 Cricut. I had a small Cricut and a large Cricut. And I upgraded my small Cricut, and now my software that I purchased, it was shortcuts a lot, doesn't work on it anymore. So that's why I have my large Cricut. I have not updated it at all, and my software still works well there, which means that I still have to use the cartridge if I want to use any of my Cricut cartridges. So let me go over to the Cricut and let's cut this out. Okay, so I'm over here and I loaded up my Cricut, and this is the image that I want to cut out. And I already put my dial to, it's going to cut it in a circle, and I have up to, let's see, 9. So let's do it 8 3/4. 8 1/2. Let's go ahead and cut this 8 1/2. I hope that will be large enough. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do multi-cut. And I'm going to cut. So it's going to cut. Let me cut it 3 times. And I have a 12 by 12. So now that I have it, it's going to cut 3 times, and I have it for 8 1/2. Let me go ahead and hit the cut button. So just finished cutting out. So I cut it multi-cut 3 times, and I think I need to change, well, it wasn't adhered as well on the paper, so that's why some of this didn't come out that well, but that's fine. Let's just pull it up and see what we have. Let's shake the little pieces out. And see, it doesn't cut too bad. Actually, I like it. And it feels kind of sturdy, except for this part here, that's okay. You know, that's not a big deal. I think what I learned from this lesson, is that I really need to make sure that it's stuck down very well on my mat. Maybe use a new mat instead of kind of reusing an old mat. But the places that it stuck down pretty well, see how it cuts nicely? So, let's go ahead and try using Let me go ahead and put something to protect my surface. And let's try using some of my sprays to color the background. So maybe, let me go ahead, I'm going to go and pull some sprays. Let me see. Let's go and look and see. Okay, I'm going to use this color swab. I'm going to use Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and this is navy. Okay. Soak up some of the color. Yeah, and I made a mess all over the place. Not bad. Now, let's go ahead and try putting, okay, I'm going to clean it up like that. But now I'm going to try using some of my paste. So let's go ahead and look for some paste. Okay, so that didn't come out too bad. Now let's try and see with some modeling paste and see how this will respond to modeling paste. That really worked out very nicely. Look at that. See that dimension? It's working out pretty nice. Now, let's see how we can clean this. So that way we can reuse this. So it's holding up pretty well. Now you won't be able to soak this in water, but let's see if we can clean it. Let's go ahead and okay, so I'm going to let this dry. Let's go ahead and let this dry, and then I'm going to try it again, see how well it works. Because it has glimmer mist and it has paste. Make sure you take all the paste off any of the areas that you don't want the paste to remain. I'm going to let it dry overnight, and then we'll come back and then reuse it and see how well it holds up. So here it is. I dried the stencil very well, even though it still has some paste. I think the paste is going to help that it even makes it a little more sturdier. It feels sturdy enough that it can do a couple more. I think I can get at least 5 more sprays out of this, or even 5 more stenciling out of this. But look how beautiful that is. It really worked very nice. And look at that stenciling. So I really like this technique. So here it is. It's nice and dry, and it's still sturdy. It did not destroy the stencil. I still have at least 4 or 5 more uses out of this stencil. I even think I'll get more out of it because it feels very sturdy. It doesn't feel like it's going to break apart. And I like it so much that if you hear in the background, I have a couple more stencils I'm cutting out, especially this one. So I really like that one. So I'm cutting that out of the same technique. And look at the stencil itself using the paste. It really gives it dimension. Now I should have colored the paste, and I didn't, but I will do something with this page. I'm going to put some color and glimmer mist and things like that. So it's going to look nice after I'm done with it. But just really like this technique. I was kind of dreading being able to cut this because I'm having a hard time cutting this with my old Cricut. Maybe the newer Cricut has a little more pressure and works a little better. It does cut out, but it's after a lot of passes with, you know, 6 or 7 times. And then sometimes I still have to go in with my craft knife and kind of finish off a little bit to make sure it cuts all the way through. It also could be that my blades are dull and I need new blades. That may be the case, but if you don't have this, you know, acetate, and you have tons of construction paper. Now I have a big old stack that I bought from Sam's that I give it to my kids to make projects, and there's still a lot left. It's very economical. Just a little bit of Mod Podge. Now this Mod Podge, I got it at discount with 40% off coupon, and I've been using it, and I still have a lot left. So, you know, it's not going to be that expensive to use Mod Podge or use your construction paper. Using a Cricut with a regular blade, and I used 3. I cut this 3 times, and that would multi-cut for 3, and that's what did the shape, and it cut it pretty clean except for some areas. I also would recommend that you use a nice a new mat. Make sure that the sticky is there, because the areas that it did not cut very well was the areas that my mat was not as sticky. So make sure you have a nice sticky mat. But other than that, you really can make stencils out of anything now with this technique. So I hope you like this video, and thank you for watching. Bye now.